British Columbia has set an extremely ambitious target. By 2032, all new homes need to be net zero emissions ready, otherwise known as passive houses. Now that is going to take a whole new set of skills and a whole set of upskilling to make that possible. And that's precisely what this building here, the British Columbia Institute of Technology Zero Emissions Building Learning Centre, is hoping to do to bridge that gap and make sure that zero emission building future is possible.
The Fully Charged Show is generating positive energy with its live events all around the world. Next up, it's Fully Charged Live Canada. Click the top right of the screen to get your tickets today.
The numbers spell what we have to do. We're simply stepping up to try and help this situation.
When we think about decarbonising housing, it's really easy to think that those high-tech solutions are the route to go. But actually, there's a ton of really easy and quite low-cost stuff that we should be doing first. And it's no different to thinking about the fact that if you're cold in your own home, you should first put on a jumper or reconsider your clothing before you switch to turn on the thermostat. And insulation is basically like giving your house a jumper. And there's a ton of different samples behind me, and it's a really good tool to start thinking about how insulated should your house be, what are the different options that exist, and how do they need to complement and work together.
When I explain passive house principles or step 5 principles to my family, for example, I tell them it's an envelope first approach to getting your building to be comfortable by using almost no energy. And so if you go from there, what does that really mean? It means a lot of insulation, it means really good windows, it means air tightness. And if you do that, then suddenly you also need to be smart about your heating and cooling system and your ventilation system. So you end up with most likely a heat pump system and a heat recovery ventilator. So those would be kind of the 5 principles. In British Columbia, by 2032, every new construction will have to meet the upper step of the step code, which is a step 5 for residential buildings, which means that every new house built in Vancouver will perform like a passive house, really, which really means up to 90% reduction in energy need to run the house. So that's by 2032. We think that the market will shift to this a little bit before, because nobody wants to sell a below par house a year before it becomes an illegal house to build. So the market will probably start pushing this before 2032, but after 2032, it's not an option anymore. Everybody has to do it.
By 2030, 16 million homes need to be retrofitted, and an additional 6 million homes are going to be built here in British Columbia alone. That's a phenomenal task, and one which is pretty tricky given the fact that 25% of people currently working in trades are set to retire in the next 10 years, leaving a massive skills gap, and one that isn't necessarily bridged by the influx of talent coming into it either. So there's an opportunity to upskill existing people, but also encourage more people to be a part of this future of building net zero emission homes. And frankly, that's such an exciting prospect and should be one that encourages people to enter the trades.
There's hundreds of thousands of homes that need to be converted. And the simple basic arithmetic of the number of homes that need to be changed in order for the time frame to meet what the government's mandated for us, we need a huge amount. We need a mobilization army almost in order to be able to accomplish what needs to be done.
But looking at a sort of catalogue of insulation will only get you so far. You really need to understand how it goes together and how different types of insulation need to work within different construction types. And that's exactly what they do here, is get a chance to work with these different types of insulation, look at different building techniques and actually have a go.
Seat the axis. Make sure you stay down 1/8 of an inch from the top.
When you look at buildings in the construction industry as a whole, there's a need to educate all the trades, all the designers, the architects, engineers on different aspects of what a zero emissions building would look like. One thing we understand clearly about a big segment of the construction industry is that they need to do something with their hands so that they truly retain the new knowledge and are capable of doing it again. And so in a world where you can do webinars and log in to, listen to a PowerPoint, having a physical space where you can go and actually do the work is quite important.
As part of Clean BC's Road to Net Zero strategy, there's something called the STEP Code, and this is an incremental and tiered approach to ultimately delivering STEP Code Level 5, which is net zero emission ready homes by 2032. And what's really cool about this is that instead of it being a prescriptive sort of tick list of you have to have a heat pump, you have to have solar panels, you have to have insulation, it's a performance-based metric. So there are goals of how efficient that home is, and it means that you can have these really creative ways of achieving that goal. And then once the building is complete, there's energy monitoring, testing for air tightness, and also quantifying the mechanical efficiency and heating needs. And I think that's really cool. That is going to inspire new ways of achieving those really, really efficient homes.
Having too many choices can be as bad as having no choices. There's a bit of a paralysis when you have too many options in front of you. So it's a fine line between saying to our students, think big, you can do whatever you want, and trying to guide them with key principles. And so what we have in the space here is kind of, the top 5 or top 10 examples of how building to a passive house or a step 5 level in British Columbia could look like. And we're hoping that as the students go home, they can adapt what they learn here to the local reality of their maybe remote community or smaller village and so on.
Support our Stop Burning Stuff Patreon and help us tackle misinformation about electric vehicles and clean energy.
Because of these ambitious targets, surely the home builders and renovators should have a healthy incentive to make it possible.
We have federal rebates, which are from the federal government. We have a provincial incentive. We have an incentive from our hydro company, BC Hydro, and we also have rebates from each different municipality. There's a variety of incentives. The maximum for federally is $5,000, provincially is $3,000, BC Hydro is $3,000, and municipality, it's usually $1,000 or $2,000 now. There's also federally a different way of looking at it, and they'll extend a $40,000 interest-free loan for 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so when I express it, when I'm dealing with dealers, I go $350 a month for 10 years to get you to do, you can do windows, you can do building insulation, you don't have to just do heat pumps. It's all in the upgrade for the STEP code that's required. So the federal government's making a serious commitment to boosting the situation. You don't get the $5,000, but a $40,000 interest-free loan for 10 years is better.
All of this sounds amazing for the people who can afford it, but who can afford to do this?
There are lots of examples of passive houses or step 5 homes that were built in British Columbia in the recent years that were built with the same budget as a regular home. So there's evidence that if you're smart about it, budget doesn't have to be an issue. What I find really interesting is to notice how tradespeople are actually often scientists with a hammer. Like they're people who are really into understanding why, am I doing this right now? If I have to make a decision on site to replace one material with another because it's not available right now, what should I be looking for, property-wise and so on. So the amount of interest in the science portion of construction amongst tradespeople is super pleasant to witness. Yeah.
I really like the scientist with a hammer. That's such a good description.
Yeah.
You can't set a target without providing the incentives and skills to make that possible. And that's precisely what we've seen here today, a really holistic approach that I think inspires creativity and ingenuity to make passive homes that little bit more accessible and affordable. And I hope it inspires other places to have an equally holistic approach.
So how did we get here? Heat pumps are an amazingly efficient way to keep your home warm, and we can show you. We shot this video at the beginning of the year, and Helen does a great job of explaining how they work. So if you got this far, I know you will find it useful. And if you want to see the step code in action, check out our episode on a zero carbon home on Bowen Island.